So here we are, let's get started on seams. Seams are actually really important. And to stick to your seam allowance, which tends to be 1.5 centimeter or 1 centimeter, is when you start to sew, not that easy, and later on you'll just do it automatically. So I'm going to show you how to achieve a really nice plain seam. And you can see it here, it's really flat. One of the things that you should get yourself to get a really flat seam is one of those tailor clappers. I get mine from a really lovely company called Cottage Lane, and yeah, it's really good. It's a heavy wooden block. I mean, you could use anything for it, but I think it's quite pretty because it's got the pin cushion on the top as well. And we use that to press down our fabric so we get a really nice pristine seam like you can see here. Let's start with a standard seam, and if you are working from a pattern you will usually pin it. So I'm just going to put 2 pins in here so you can see what I'm doing. On your sewing machine you will have like the first line next to your presser foot will be the 3/8 of an inch or centimeter seam allowance, and then you've got the 5/8 of an inch, which is the 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, which is used by Patrick. And you also got lower down on your sewing machine the markings for 1 centimeter, 1.5, 2 centimeters, etc. So it's very easy to gauge where you are sewing. So let's get started with this little plain seam. When you start your seam, it's a very good idea not to start here right on the edge, because you likely get a knot, and with some fabrics it might not transport. Start a tiny little bit in, line it up with your 1 centimeter seam allowance, secure your stitches, go backwards a bit, now you can, and then go forwards a bit. And that's it. So what you want to do is line up here and line up at the bottom as well, your 1 centimeter. Keep it very steady. Don't look at your needle. I could cover this up because that's not where my eye should be. I'm just lining up that line there, and of course lower down on the sewing machine as well. So I'm just keeping that nice and straight. Lining up down here. If it's a straight line you can do that, and then I'll line it up here. Don't look anywhere else. There you go. And at the end, lock in your stitches. And now you've got a really beautiful seam. So the first thing to know is that generally when you're ironing a seam, the first thing to do is to iron it flat. And that means you iron it exactly as you've sewn it, so that we get a really lovely edge. And then the second step is to open it out and iron it. And you do want to have this little clapper tool here and press it down, because what that will do is it will sharpen the edges that you've just got, and you get this really pristine seam, as you can see here. Sometimes when you're putting in a seam you will have a little indent on this side, and to avoid that you've got this nifty thing on your iron where you've got a little gap. So you can then go back in here and let your iron just, glide along it. Actually, can go in or not go in as you will, and you just go underneath it a little bit, and to make sure you get that perfect seam. That is a plain seam, the standard seam you use for all your sewing. Then of course you can have this seam going into one direction and overlocking it as well, which is commonly done when it's lighter weight fabric, but also when it's a lot of children's wear, it's done like this. So you can overlock it to one side or overlock both of these first.